Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all between. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving. This is your 4-day weekend. You're either hiding from your family or captured by it, or perhaps kidnapped, hidden in the basement somewhere. But either way, speaking of family, Jason, how are you, man?
I'm great, brother. How you doing?
Good, man. You have a good Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it was like 0 calories. It's like it didn't even happen.
Well, you'll make up for it.
Right on, right on. So, yeah, got interesting guests today. Paul. And Fred's going to come on and give a proper introduction with his pretty words. And let's go to Fred, see what he has to say. Fred, my brother, what's happening?
Oh, sorry, the tryptophan got to me. What?
Right.
Oh, shit. God, yeah. I love turkey. I love turkey. How are you guys tonight?
Good. You can sleep on all those guitars you got stacked up on it.
Yeah, I keep bringing them home. My wife keeps threatening to leave me, but she won't. She won't.
You need a knuckle dragger.
Yeah, knuckle dragger. You got to get one.
Yeah. I know somebody.
I know a guy.
I know a guy. Yeah, so give us a little background on today's guest.
All right. Well, tonight, Vince and Jason, we veer off the heavy metal path a little, but we still bring in a heavy hitter. Our guest this evening is Paul Barlie, a man of many talents, wears many hats, and his resume includes novelist, actor, director, playwright, teacher, musician, culinary blog writer, tour guide, and a clown. We're going to have to dig into that at some point of this interview. I met Paul when I enrolled in a creative writing class at a local community college. Paul was the instructor. I decided to finally get back into my passion of writing when I realized that my underwear modeling career was going nowhere. But Paul was instrumental in guiding myself and a small group.
With you.
What's that?
You should have brought the russets with you.
Yeah. Paul was instrumental in guiding myself and a small group of very talented writers to create and publish 2 books this year. One was a novel. One was a short story anthology. Available on Amazon.com. Paul's a native of Berlin, Illinois. Currently resides on Chicago's southwest side. So let's see what makes this multi-talented man tick and get to know Paul Barlie.
What's happening, Paul? How are you, sir?
How you doing tonight?
Good. Hi, Paul.
Good evening, everybody. I'm good. How's everyone doing?
Good.
We're doing good. So, I want to thank you for taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to spend some time with us tonight.
Oh, no, man.
So part of your resume said you were a clown. My dad was a clown.
I feel like I got nothing behind me. You guys got these great scenes, and I've got a lamp.
Hey, it's not every day you see a lamp or a hat.
Invested in interior decoration.
You do have a nice choice of colors in the room, though, I have to say.
Good point.
So part of your resume, it says you were a clown. My father was a clown, as well as a magician. And when I was a kid, what's that?
I did more. Oh, go ahead. When you were a kid?
Yeah, when I was a kid,
what were you say your dad was a magician?
My dad was a clown and a magician. So we had, all the local clowns would all, come over now and then, or, magicians and show, hang out with tricks and all this stuff. And my dad was also in construction, and there was a clown from a couple of towns down that visited us a few times. And that clown was John Wayne Gacy.
Oh boy.
So we had John Wayne Gacy in the house.
Well, not everybody can say that.
Yes.
Right. I ain't clowning around either.
Did you add that? Yeah. Did you add that into family Christmas letter? Yeah, today, Uncle John was over.
Yeah. Yeah, he kept on asking for drywall, drywall tools.
Yeah.
Hey, do you guys know how to tape? Nope, we don't tape. Sorry, John. But what's that?
I used to do weird Chicago tours, so haunted tours, serial killer tours, And I would do a Gacy tour, and people would defend him. Oh, he wasn't that bad. He gave us the Polish parade. Oh, he wasn't that bad. He gave money to the Boy Scouts. People, this has been like 2019, 2020. Guys, people were defending this guy because he was such an upstanding civic citizen.
Wow.
Not even kidding. But I will tell
I
you,
don't doubt it.
Serial killer tour, okay? I got on the bus. So we got the little short bus. You get the people on, and I got on the bus, and there's 17 women, no guys. And my first thought is, I got the pictures of 17 women, and then it dawned on me, their hobby is serial killers. Maybe there's a reason why there's 17 women. And that was not
it really is amazing to me how many women I know who are into the murder shows. Like, it's like overwhelmingly women that love serial killers.
Really?
Yeah.
And they all sit there and take notes when they're watching these shows. Aha, that's how you do it.
So weird Chicago tours. I know Sonny and Ken. I think Sonny and Ken used to do.
Ken is a longtime friend. And Sonny's with Ken. She, right as she came in, is when I was making my exit because I started my own tour company.
Gotcha.
And it was decidedly not weird at all. But Ken is a stand-up guy. He and I have done a couple movies together. And their other partner, Troy, I worked on one of his Al Capone books. But I worked with them for years. I would do the gangster, the paranormal, the W.W. Holmes.
Oh, wow.
But the serial killer kind of freaked me out that many people were that excited about it, and that many women were that tuned into it. That was a little strange.
So are you excited for the H.H. Holmes?
I'm still into the True Crime podcast.
Yeah. Are you excited for the H.H. Holmes movie to come out? The White City, I think they're making a movie.
Are they doing a movie?
Well, they've been talking about it for like almost 20 years,
Yeah.
Scorsese had it, Cruise had it, DiCaprio had it, and then Scorsese and DiCaprio. And actually, and this kind of cracked me up. They were during one of the times that it was in the news. The woman, alderman or alderwoman from that district said, "We don't want that movie shot here. We don't want people to think that Inglewood is crime infested." First of all, Inglewood is crime infested. Sorry, it is. Second of all, it's a historic piece that just happens to be set in Inglewood.
Yeah.
So I took a bus of seniors down there one time, and they pulled the bus in the Aldi parking lot, which is where the hotel was. We got out, and we're walking around, and my phone rings, and it's the guy Troy, the guy who owns Weird Chicago with Ken and Sonny, and he said, "Where are you?" I said, "We're heading toward the post office." He said, "You just took 15 white seniors out of the bus in Inglewood." I'm like, "Yeah. Are you crazy?" Possibly, but they're having a ball, so we're going to do it. And we did have a great time, and people were so nice to us. We went in the post office. Had a blast, and no one had to worry. They got back in and went home.
Right.
My mother grew up in Inglewood, so I kind of feel like no matter what happens in Inglewood, I'm going to always love it.
Oh, for
one
sure.
One of my most successful plays that I've written was set in Inglewood.
And what was that play called?
Yeah. But
What play was that, Paul?
Homegoing. It's about a woman who is raised in it. It's called Homegoing. And I wish I should have known. I should have written down the publisher so everyone can go out and buy a copy. But it's about a woman who grew up in Inglewood, who moves to the suburbs during one of the white flights, but she finds herself back there, and she falls in love with, or is reunited with, the boy that she was in love with as a child. So all of the flashback scenes that are set in Inglewood are based on my mother's life, and then all of the modern day contemporary scenes that are set in Naperville are the siblings are based on my siblings, but it's not really hard. It's not really my family story. But it's interesting that people will go back to places that helped so much for them and not be frightened by it and not be nervous about it at all.
No.
Which is good.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm down on the south
that's where
side
the
and
heart
west
is,
side
back
all the
there.
time. You know, and it doesn't, but you know, everyone's like, oh, why would you go? I'm like, it doesn't bother me. Why would it bother me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's amazing. The city has gotten a lot worse. And it's,
Right.
you know, I there shouldn't be 300 bags of garbage on every off and on ramp going into the city, man. That, you know, like we have a homeless issue. Hey, let's pay them $5 or $10 for each garbage bag to fill up, bring it to the dump. You know, you can get it cleaned up relatively quickly. You know what I mean? It's just unfortunate because Chicago is such a beautiful city and a lot of people just don't know how to find a trash can, you know?
Yeah, it really is beautiful, especially in the summertime. You cannot beat Chicago in the summertime. It's
Right.
gorgeous.
It used to be. So I spent about 16 years driving the trolley downtown, doing the tours and the free trolley and the double decker. And it used to be that people from all over the world would say, "Oh my God, I can't believe how clean this town is." And there used to be a lot of civic pride.
Yeah.
But in the last, I'd say, 4 or 5 years, it's tanked. That's because I'm not there anymore. I'm not there to keep an eye on things. So it's fine, you know.
You're the watchdog.
Now,
Once I left the tourism industry.
now you know. Wait a
Right.
minute. Me being
When the COVIDs came along and changed my life. What's that?
now me being an outsider, I have to ask this question. Are you guys trying to tell me that Beetlejuice didn't clean the place up?
Oh, what's her name?
No.
Lightfoot.
No.
Yeah. No, she was horrible, in my opinion.
Very
It's amazing that Jason is from North Carolina, right, Jason?
South
She was-
Carolina.
well,
South Carolina. Yeah, somebody from South Carolina knows we called her Beetlejuice.
Oh, it cracked me up when the first time I heard it. That's why I brought it up, just to make myself laugh. So.
Yeah, you know. It's unfortunate.
I had a boss who called her Larry Lightfoot. She was one of the very few times that they just in Chicago. Once you get elected, you got to really, really be terrible and not get reelected. Really,
Right.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of work to not get reelected.
Right.
And normally when you run a
But
large...
go back to the clown things. There was an older time.
Go ahead.
When you run a large city.
Oh.
I'd say going back to the clown thing, I was a teenager and there's this old Italian guy named Chad the clown. And he decided to create a clown class at a YMCA in Cicero. And I'm thinking to myself, this could be fun. This could be a way to meet girls. Okay. At that age, that was the only criteria for decision. Am I going to have fun or am I going to meet girls?
Right.
So I went in and took the class, a couple of weeks of make balloon animals, juggling, and talk, and I ended up really liking it. And I will say before I go any further, 99% of the stories in my life start with I did it to meet girls. And somewhere along the way something changed. And same with playing in bands. I joined bands to meet girls.
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
I just thought, what a great way to meet girls. I could sing and then get a kiss. And now I got a couple of records out. I got the best girlfriend in the world. I just want to play my bass and sing my little songs. But yeah, everything from clown to writing to music starts with I wanted to meet girls. But I started doing in Lombard. There's a place called Villa Scalabrini, an old people's home. And so me and this old Italian clown would go and do our shtick. And at the end of the shtick, they'd take you in the kitchen and they give you a big plate of pasta, a couple of meatballs, some wine, and on your way out, they slip you $20. when you're 16 years old and you're doing shtick for an hour and a half, then you get some really good pasta and $20. That's living.
What a deal.
That's, and it
Yeah.
stuck for a long time. I started doing parades, and it was a lot of fun. And I was still in high school, so it wasn't like I had any real responsibility. Just
Right.
pretend to do homework, get enough done
Pretend.
to graduate. And
Right.
But I've always been involved in something artistic. Whether it's, again, theater. When I was 4 years old, I did my first play, and I haven't stopped. Well, actually, what's that?
That's
I
what
stopped doing theater probably about 4 years ago because I got more into doing film and even more writing. I still write plays. I have a couple plays that are right now on the table at a publisher in Oregon, and a couple plays that have been published that they're trying to sell. But the actual the commission of getting together to do a play it's so time consuming. You got to rehearse, you got to memorize lines, it's so time consuming. Which is why the Gospel According to Pork Chop is a one-man improv show. So Pork Chop is a guy who lives in McKinley Park who just tells stories. I got probably 40 videos of Pork Chop stories. And it's just him telling, what happens is people send one word, and I take that word and I improvise a monologue. So we got about 40 of those videos that people get into occasionally. I have one, it's called I Hate Birmingham, and it's a very sad story. But people from England saw it on YouTube, and they thought I was making fun of their town, and they put the video on, and they would see it, and it's a very sad story, and they would send me these notes on YouTube going, I came here to harass you for making fun of my town, but your story is so sad. I hope you're going to be okay. I don't have the heart to tell them that it's fiction. It's pure fiction. I don't have the heart to. So I'm like, oh, thank you, my friend. Thank you for the light and the path. I don't want to break anybody's heart when they realize it's just improv. It's me making shit up. My mother never lived in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right.
But it's a good time. It's always a good time.
Nice. Yeah, there's a character close to me called Vito Bupkis. He wrote a book. His book came out last year, and he's like that one uncle everyone needs, or everyone don't necessarily need, but they have him around. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's funny how people. Yeah. Anyway, but so how did you get into writing? How did that all start for you?
It's something I've always wanted to do since I was a little bitty kid. And one of the reasons was my dad was an epic reader. My dad just read all the time. And I wanted him, my dad and I were not the two that were going to go out and haul back and forth. We would go out and discuss Shakespeare or whatever writer we were reading at the time. And when I saw the kind of the hole that literature had on him, I decided that was what I was going to do. And being me, I started with poetry because what girl can resist an Italian guy who writes poetry?
Right.
Apparently a lot, because it didn't work out like I planned, but I just continued to write. And
writing
things built from there. And actually, last Friday, I released a brand new book, The Legend of Mecha Wolf.
Nice.
One thing I'll say, all my books are dual language, if you can see that.
Right on.
So that the kids can pick up. It's something, and I've taught writing, and I'm in grad school, and on a given night, I come home from work, and I'll spend hours crafting a new story or an essay or a poem. or I'll gather Fred and a bunch of the folks from past classes, and we just go to this place. It's called Q. It's in, I think, Hinsdale or Hillside.
Hillside,
And
yeah.
we'll just go there and talk writing and eat pizza for a while. Yeah, it's how I met my girlfriend. She needed a tutor, and I said, I'll be your tutor. And then on our first meeting, I said, I should probably be your boyfriend too. It took 2 meetings for her to agree to let me have a date with her. And we've been together a year and a half. So
Nice.
There you go.
yeah, always come out.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah. But
So I know your current project, Paul, and I know how passionate you are about what you're doing now with the Lucha Libre series books, which of course is the Mexican wrestling, where the wrestlers wear colorful masks and high-flying maneuvers. You're huge into that. Give us a background on how you started in on this and how the series started.
So I go to the shows all the time. I actually work for a Lucha Libre company in Villa Park as a chauffeur, which is actually really cool because I get to go to the airport and get the guys, so I get a chance to talk. I get a chance to get some autograph. Let me see if I can get this carefully. I get these guys running around the house, which for a grown man to have one of these in his house.
Yeah, when Jason was in college, he used to walk around the townhouse with that mask and just.
This is a guy called El Ferrero.
That's cool, man. Yeah, there's a whole art in those masks, and there's meanings behind everything in that mask, correct?
Oh yeah. Even the colors. This is a more established mask. This is Titon. And believe it or not, I was at a show a couple weeks ago, and a guy walked up to me, and he handed me this, and he said, "Titon, amigo," and he walked away. This is a professional mask. I could probably get a couple $100 for this. He just gave it to me.
Oh wow!
No reason, So I just started going to shows because it's fun to watch. The community of people they're friendly and they're open with each other, and I just got hooked. And so I being a guy who really enjoys writing comedy, I was going to write a comical story about a guy who becomes a luchador, but he eats too many tacos, and so he can't move around the ring, and he ends up losing. And the more I wrote the story, the more I went, this kind of has some heart. There's something here. And I turned it around, and I ended up writing Aguila Azul, which is Blue Eagle. And I told my publisher, we have to put it English and Spanish so the kids can read it, excuse me, and develop the language. And so it's doing pretty well. The first contract was 7 books. So it's 7 characters that are not always luchadors. Like one of the books, the next book is about a guy who can't wrestle because he has a heart problem. So he becomes a ring announcer. And then the book after that, and they're all set in Chicago. Okay. The book after that is a young girl who becomes a referee. The book after that is kind of my story. It's about a guy who writes about Lucha Libre. But the schools are digging it, the Lucha crowd, because the thing is, so you got the Abuela. The Abuela's been here for a long time. And you got the Nino. And the Nino doesn't speak a lot of Spanish because they're trying to integrate into the United States in the school system, right? The Abuela doesn't speak a lot of English because she's an older person who grew up in Mexico. Yeah. What they do is they can take the book and read it together. The Nino can read the English, or the Nina, and Abuela or Abuelo can read the Spanish. So we're trying to immerse the 2 generations together to share the story. Yeah. And I started doing the coloring books, and people are having a ball because who doesn't want it? Yeah, it's been a good. We did Printers Row Book Fair this year, and were really well received.
Nice.
Our last book show of the year is this weekend down in Des Moines. I got to be honest, the small town Midwest, it's a tough sell, but there's a restaurant in Des Moines called Fong's. Fong's is a pizza joint, except the toppings are Chinese food.
Oh wow.
If they're going to top a pizza with Chinese food, I'm in.
Yeah, you gotta
So
check that.
that was the main reason I took that gig, because but the books are all right. The first set will be out by the end of, or at the beginning of 2025, and it'll start the next series. And it's celebrating the community, because Lucha Libre, there's so much more than just the guys in the ring. There's the people cooking, and the refs, and the ring announcer, and the kids selling tickets, and the people selling noisemakers and mask makers. Most of the masks are made by hand, which is why they cost a couple $100 usually.
Yeah.
The ones that are made by machines, you get for $20-$25. But the good ones, the ones that are made by hand, they're really expensive.
Now, I've never
hundreds of them.
I've never seen any Lucha Libre. I've never seen any Lucha Libre, Paul. But is it staged kind of like WWE, or is it more real?
Well, it's choreographed, but it's more exciting than WWE because they do higher risk maneuvers. There's more storytelling, where WWE, it's basically the same story. They just interchange characters. Where Lucha Libre, there's more pageantry, there's more grace, there's more athleticism. You look at some of the WWE guys, and they're built like a Volkswagen Bug. You can't do that in Lucha Libre, because you have to be athletic to do the things they do.
And it's a high drama, like soap opera drama, rather than the cookie cutter U.S. wrestling, But like telenovas, right? It's that type of.
Most luchadors start at 12 or 13.
Oh wow.
Oh, it really?
Yeah, there's more levels to it.
So they have to go through an apprenticeship and all that, and then be the water boy and everything else, and take care, and then move up. Right on.
So Paul, how did you get interested in that whole culture?
When I say 12 or 13, well, the idea, I've always liked it. But it's always been kind of on the fringes, because I just was always so busy. But a couple years ago, probably about 8 years ago now, I was going through a pretty rough spell,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I put on Lucha Underground, which you can get on a couple of different streaming platforms. And I had a blast. And I yelled at the ref and yelled at the bad guys. And, and by the time it was done, I was
you're hooked, just
like purified. And the next time I felt bad, I put it on. And after a while, I just found myself putting it on to have a laugh, Yeah. And then I started looking on Facebook, and it's like, they have 30 minutes from the house. I got to go. And I started going and going and going. And suddenly I'm working for the guy, and I'm meeting all these. A lot of the guys I work with WWE, or have been in WWE, like Lince Dorado, and this guy Grand Metali, and Sin Cara, Mustafa Ali. So it's been such a cool, and they're really welcoming. As a writer, I spend most of my time alone, or I'm either at work, I'm alone writing, or I'm with my girlfriend. That's pretty much my life.
Yeah.
So to be with these people, and to be accepted, and to be welcomed,
Yeah.
Some of the abuelas know I'm single, so they'll come to some shows and bring me a bunch of tamales. Different people that take care of you.
Yeah.
It's just nice. It's just a really nice, nice environment.
Cool.
and they buy the books, which is nice.
Bonus. Okay, so let's get into when did you start in your music? When did you start? Of course, you started because
Girls.
you girls,
Oh,
Meet the chicks.
chicks.
right. So I was actually pretty young. I was in like junior high doing some garage. That's in the 70s, doing some garage bands. Nothing of any real substance. When I was in my early 20s, I was with a couple of buddies, and I was like, there's no reason why we can't meet all the girls. Why those other guys get to meet girls? Well, they're in bands. Well, let's make a band. Okay. So we started a band, and I just was a singer at the time. I could make it on guitar, but I was mostly just a singer. But we put together a band and started playing. And one day we're in a guy's basement. 3 months later, we're in a nightclub, and there are people dancing. And that was it. We went full bore, including not my proudest moment, including matching clothes and choreography. And at one point I was like, we just need to get back to the music. And there came a point where nothing else mattered but the music.
Yeah.
And the band stripped down to the bare bones. Some of the guys went off their own way and new guys came in. And that band, Infants, ended up touring for a while in the 80s. And we had a ball.
Nice.
Then we broke up for a while, and I just would find bands. At one point, I was with a band, and these guys were heavy drinkers. And with me, I used to like to drink a little bit, but not during band practice. You got to practice.
Right.
So we decided to start a new band. I said, my brother, who was Brody, I said, you're going to be a drummer now. My other brother, I said, you're going to be the lead guitar player, and I'm going to be the bass player. And he said, Paul, you've never played the bass before. I said, can't be that hard. Within 6 months, we released our first album.
Nice.
And we toured for a long time in the night.
Was that the Grudge Brothers?
And then we played for years, and then we broke up. That band broke up, and now, yes, the Grudge Brothers. Well, the Bulldogs turned into the Mighty Bulldogs during the tour, and then when the Bulldogs broke up, the Grudge Brothers emerged, and we are working on a recording project right now.
Oh,
so
nice.
Down here, I have a really nice American-made jazz bass. Then I have Mexican-made Fender jazz bass up in the studio.
Yeah.
Playing the bass is a great. I have to get surgery on both of my hands twice but it's worth it.
Yeah.
Now, I saw something, Paul, on Facebook that you put out there with you and looked like a Blues Brother thing. Was that just a one-time thing, or was that something you were in? The Blues Brothers thing you put on Facebook.
I lost you. What was it?
I saw something you put on Facebook about looked like you were in a Blues Brother. Was that a one-time thing?
No. That was about 2 years of steady work. Instead of being Jolly Jake, my name was Felony Frank. And we played the minor league ballparks and nightclubs. We played all over the place. And instead of Elwood, my buddy was Dagwood. So it's Dagwood and Felony Frank's the Brother Biscuit Blues Review. And we did all the shtick, dancing, and we also had a band called P-Bone and Donuts, which was acoustic blues. So in 2012 we played Blues Fest, and then we played that band played a lot. It was just two guys, just me with my acoustic guitar and the harmonica player. But doing the Blues Brothers, we were doing the Gary Railcats down in Gary, Indiana. We used to do the pre-show for them while people are coming in, and we would dance on the dugouts and do our music. And we had it. The ending was the park security would take us out and arrest us. So this last time we're playing, we get our shit, we get done with our singing, security guards grab us and they're walking us out, and I'm looking over, and this little girl is crying her eyes out. Mommy, make them put those boys down. Those are nice boys. Mommy, don't let them take the boys away. I felt terrible. This little kid, she bought the whole thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, but that was a lot of fun being Felony Frank.
That had to be a lot of fun.
You know, I think I might
figured
have
like
seen
this.
you when you did that.
If something comes my way, I'm going to try it.
Oh yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? You know,
But we were all over Pierogi Fest every year.
pierogi. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
we
That's
were
great.
all over. I was totally saving.
What? There he
We
is.
were doing Pierogi Fest one year. I think 3 or 4 times we did it. And that's at a wrestling show. That's the company I go to all the time. So and that's Rob Myers first. So we're doing Pierogi Fest, and the guy this guy brings me up some pierogi while we're performing, and he said, "This is from whatever Joe's Pierogies." So I said to the mic, "Hey, we want to shout out to Joe's Pierogies. Look how great these pierogies are." Within 15 minutes, we had stacks of pierogies. All the restaurants heard me, and they wanted their free pierogi, or they wanted me to give them a shout out too. So we ate pierogies for about 3 days, but it was so good.
I just love the name Pierogi Fest.
You can never give a guy enough pierogies.
Now, in your resume that I read at the beginning, you've done everything.
You do like a pierogi.
And the chicks dig pierogies, so remember that.
Oh, they do.
I'm trying to figure out what the next.
Have you ever tried?
Love the pierogies.
Did you ever try stand-up comedy?
I keep looking. I keep on the lookout for something.
Did you ever try stand-up comedy, Paul?
Say again.
Did you ever try stand-up comedy?
I think we lost your friend. Say again.
Did you ever try stand-up comedy?
When I was in Second City. I was in Second City in 83 and 84. So I studied at Second City, and then I did Second City Kids Theater, and then I did some stand-up comedy with. There's a guy called Bob Kolb who had a group called the Triton something, and we would go to different comedy clubs, and everyone would do their shtick. I was a prop comedian, and it was 100% improv. So some nights I had a ball, some nights not so much.
Not so much.
But we did that for a while. If you remember in the 80s, right, there's a lot of nightclubs that were kind of trying to figure out what they wanted to be. They didn't have an identity. They'd have like a disco night, or they'd have ladies' night until that became a problem. There's a lot of these clubs just didn't know what to do, and a lot of them would try to do an open mic. And so for a while, especially around like River Forest, River Grove, out into like Schaumburg area, they would book a bunch of us together. We'd all come in and do a comedy show. And the one shtick, my one favorite thing was the rubber chicken. And I would say, and all this excitement, I don't know if he laid 2, I don't know if she laid 2 eggs or 3. What do you say? You feel lucky, punk? Which to me at that time was hilarious. Now it's just a guy with a rubber chicken doing Dirty Harry.
Nice. Yeah, my friends were always like, Vince, you should do stand-up, this, that, and the other. And and this is like
it's
a
weird
like,
thing.
oh, you gotta go out. I'm like, at 50 years old, no, there's YouTube. Like, you can go tour the shitty things all over the place. I can be right at my desk, dude, and be just as funny and not have to deal with all the travel. You know what I mean? But that's I probably should have done stand-up, but whatever. I do voices and all that kind of crap and improv. And
I found doing stand-up, I tried it. I found doing stand-up was really tough because, you'd write something you thought was so funny. Then when you did it at your little routine and there was crickets are out there going, oh shit, I guess this wasn't so funny.
That's when you make fun of the crowd for being stupid.
Yeah, yeah. You don't get that? What's the matter with you? You don't get that?
Yeah. Well, so I'd feel bad because I'd go to a stand-up show
The thing,
and then we'd wind up sitting close to the stage, and then they decide to do crowd work and pick on me, and I would just retort, you know, and I wound up being funnier than the guys on the stage, so I stopped going to those shows because I didn't want them to point because I looked, you know, I stuck out like a sore thumb in a comedy, you know what I mean? I looked like fucking Tommy Lee. So,
Yeah.
you know, Tommy Lee, stacked blonde girlfriend, they're gonna make fun of us. So I like stopped going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to take away. I didn't want to be the show. They're up there doing their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But don't mean to sound like an ass, but that's what
Yeah.
happened.
there's very few guys who know how to do crowd work and get away with it.
Right.
Well, no. I've been to a ton of shows, whether audience or performing. There's probably right now two guys that I know of who can really do audience work. If you can't do audience work, 3. Jimmy Carr, who's just obscene but hilarious.
Yes, he's hilarious.
Matt, the young kid, he's just
The good-looking kid from TikTok.
I can't think of his name. And then Troy Donovan, maybe. Those guys, they know how to work an audience. Most guys don't know how to work an audience,
Right.
and they end up making themselves look bad.
Right.
I spent a lot of years, in Cicero playgrounds trading, barbs or snaps. So I'm pretty good with an audience. I also spent 2 years with Tony Tina's wedding, which is all audience.
Oh my God, I did
Never
that
seen
too.
Tony Tina's. It's all audience.
I did
And you
that in
gotta be
South
quick,
Florida.
and you got to be.
Mhm.
That had to be a
That was,
blast doing that.
quite an experience.
Yeah.
To say the
My
least.
role, because they changed it, you know what I mean? So it's like this guy
That-
directs Starsky and Hutch. He thought it was like the biggest thing on earth, was directing dinner theater down in Florida. So I sign up and I play the mafia's boss's muscle man who is also banging his wife and is the food taster, you know what I mean, kind of deal at the wedding. But that was fun, man, because you'd spend the whole day in character. And people try to break you out of character, and you're like, hey, you do the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of Vito was born.
I played. Oh yeah, you would not believe. I don't know who's going to see this, so I can't tell you things that people did to try to get me to break character. But
Right.
they were not even.
You can tell them
Yeah,
about
you
me.
go.
It's true.
Yeah, you have to go through the whole wedding ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go through the whole wedding ceremony, then the whole reception, and then the after party, and you can't break character.
No.
And for me, it wasn't hard because I'm an Italian guy playing an Italian guy. But
Right.
there were always people, or people would want to pick fights.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
like, I'm in the family. You don't want to fight with the family.
Right.
Yeah, it was very weird.
Oh,
that's
but,
that's what I was just going to ask. If you guys,
Second City, so we.
Oh,
if you guys,
wedding, people are trying to bang it. People are trying to do, like they're trying to.
When we did it was at.
yeah, because if you're in character and you're
but
as part of your character, you maybe just
we
flirt
go
with.
across
Yeah.
I would imagine if you're like kind of just part of your
Oh, you
character,
can
you're
stay in
flirting with
character,
somebody.
give
The
them
guy
a
gets, the guy would get pissed off, right? Yeah, once in a while.
It could happen. Guys getting pissed that their dates are hitting on you or whatever.
Oh yeah, it happened all the time with me because that was one of my jobs was. I had a card that had my name, my character's name and a phone number. One of my jobs in the show was to hire strippers. So I'd see a hot chick with her boyfriend. I'd be like, "Hey, leave that loser and come work for me." And these guys didn't want to fight. And I'm like, "Dude, really? You don't want to do that." But there were times after the show we went across the street to Old Town Tap, and then you could break character, and that was a lot more fun.
Right.
But I was always a gentleman. Yeah, that was some interesting time.
Yeah, that was fun. was very interesting too, because
Yeah.
you know, like the level of actors were all over the
But like I was
place. It was
saying,
new.
there's
It was newbies. It was like, you know, people had been doing it for 40 years.
yeah,
It
yeah.
was
We
like
had guys that
different
were around.
type of- yeah.
Yeah. I also did a show for a while, which is the same format called Johnny Boy Graduates. Johnny Boy's graduation party. So, you know, in the community, when your dad is in prison, you say dad's in college. My dad went away to college. That was kind of the euphemism when your dad was in jail. So they started a show called Johnny Boy's Graduation, and it was set in Vina Bueno on uh, uh, I'm losing the Quincy behind the Board of Trade. I was behind under the tracks, and so the opening of the play was actually film footage of them coming out of the correctional center. The whole play is now that Johnny's out of jail, he's going to take the family over and be a success. It's the same thing. It's basically here's a little bit of his play. Now we're going to do table work for 2 hours, and then we're going to wrap up with a big dance and then a play. And I did that for a few months. That was also fun. I was a lot more aggressive. I was a lot more gritty than Tony and Tina. It was a lot more dangerous, but it was awesome.
Yeah, because unlike a regular play, people are increasingly getting hammered.
Around that time, I was also doing a lot of.
You know, so you had to be careful of that, you know, because some people would get shitty drunk.
Yeah.
No, I could see that easily in a situation like that. Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can't take a
Yeah,
joke.
they do.
I would be frightened to do it today because no one could take a joke. Like everyone would be, you know, people have pitchforks by the time the first act ended.
Right.
Oh, I know. Yeah, no, I wouldn't go near that today because except for that.
Yeah, it's amazing. You know, the
But
young generation
at that time, those didn't pay a lot. I was.
But
yeah, the young kids, they don't get to get away with things that we got away with.
That's for sure.
And everybody's got a camera phone. So you do something, you got 30 cameras
so at
on
that
you.
time, I was making right. Yeah. At that time, I was also paying my bills with being an extra in feature films, which is not fun, but it's decent money. And you can sit in a room and read or write for hours. Then you go out and stand in front of the camera for 5 seconds. Then you go back in that room for 4 or 5 hours. But that you meet people, you have a good time. I know people that's their whole doing all the local stuff. I couldn't do it. I'd go nuts.
Totally.
But
and like for people who've never worked,
you got to try everything. Anything that you got to try.
Yeah, so for people who've never been on, I was a special effects guy for 12 years. So for people who've never been on set, whether it be commercial, film, television, whatever, the extras, it's a weird situation because they're corralled in the space of the world of the extras. They're not with the tape players and the bit part players and the leads. They're corralled away from the crew, away from the actors, and it's you're right, because there are people that's their entire life, you know. And there's a couple of movies that have done about it, or a couple of documentaries as well about, you know, the life of an extra, you know, because, you know, it really can be exciting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now they pay decent, you know, but back in the day they didn't really.
So you could make a career out of being an extra?
Yeah, but it took a while for them to get to that.
Right. You know, because if you're gonna get Fred,
you're not gonna you're probably you're gonna work long hours gonna probably, you can make a couple $100 a day if you catch some breaks.
Yeah.
But that's hours of sitting and
Right.
reading a book or chatting with these people you've been doing with.
Yeah.
To me, that's just, I do my 40 hours at my legit corporate job. I walk in, punch in, get my coffee, do my job. 5 o'clock, I punch out a goal.
Yeah.
Right.
Works perfectly. That way, I can do
Yeah,
whatever.
on set, we would 16-hour days were not uncommon at all. That was normal. So
Right.
if you're, but if you're an extra, you're probably working 12 to 14, depending. And if you're smart and someone leaves the sides around to the script, you figure out what they're saying and you try to be in the center of the action and think of where the cameras were going to be. You know what I mean? Like the last time I did, I was on Chicago Fire or something, and I did extra for one day, and it was all these people, and I looked where the tape was on the floor, and I got in the center of it, so I was featured, so I got a bump up in pay. So like there's, just by knowing what's going on set, you can, because if you say, "Oh, excuse me," and they're shooting that scene for a week, no, on camera, you just went from an extra to, a day player. And you've been bumped up in pay, and now that 1 day gig, you're there for 7 because they're going to be in that room doing that scene for 7 days. I'm just giving you an example. Yeah. So that's one way that you can get into that. Then maybe the next week, you're doing extra work for, remember when they used to do all these infomercials? They would pay really well.
Oh, really?
Crowds, yeah, they would pay like $300 for 8. Yeah. And did a few of those, and that, so you can make a living. It's just, most people are trying to get that one break. They're, Mr. DeMille will see me for 1 second, and I'll be. But some people just do it because they love doing it. But it's fun,
Oh yeah.
But I'm not about doing any of that.
I've been on set with people who think they're going to go up and talk to Scorsese.
Yeah. Which is funny because I was an extra in a Martin Scorsese film. And I cast the extras too. Yeah. Cape Fear. Come out wherever you are. Remember that?
Yeah.
But All right, so how did this come around when you started putting these short stories?
I was an extra in The Color of Money.
Oh, right on.
Oh.
You can go back to Color of Money.
So all right. So Fred's got the book. It's called Coffin. So I was in college and I was doing Color of Money, extra. And at one point, a lady says, "When I say action, you stand up, walk down the stairs, and across." Okay, that's fine. So I do it. They do 8 or 9 takes. So we're done. And back then, you didn't get paid. By the way, in the 80s, you didn't get paid to be an extra. You got a box lunch and a T-shirt for the movie. That was it. But I was in college. Okay.
Right.
So they film it. So my dad and I go to see the movie when it came out. And he said, "Don't embarrass me. Do not embarrass me." Of course. Dad, I won't embarrass you. I'm cool. When I saw myself on the screen, I just yelled, "Hey, that's me." But but it's the one time that I saw myself.
Yeah.
I was on the silver screen for Scorsese.
Nice.
It was worth the embarrassment.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. So how did you come about doing these books with collections?
So the book, you show the cover. So my girlfriend, one of my hobbies, just going back to Chicago, is I go all over the country and all over the world in some cases and do haunted tours. I just love haunted tours. So last October we were in Decatur, Illinois, doing a haunted tour, and we went past an old coffin factory. So I started getting this idea for a story about a coffin, but I couldn't quite put it together. And at the same time, these guys, these former students, we're working on a different project, and I said, we need to do an anthology. One of my goals in life is to get as many people as I can published, because a lot of people dream about being published but don't know how to do it. I can make them. I can get them to do it, and I don't charge them anything. They pay $5 a book, which is what I pay just about. Anyway, so I'm struggling with this story about a coffin, and I said we're going to do an anthology. So I told everybody it was like you have a month to write your story, any genre, but the word coffin has to be in the title. That's it. Anything you want, but the word coffin has to be in the title. So they wrote them. They wrote them, and ball, and we like about a week or so ago it came out, and now you can get it on Amazon, and you can get it in different places. It's just a fun little book. I haven't read all of it yet because I'm also right now in grad school,
watching
which
this
means
right
I'm reading
now.
a ton of other stuff.
Underneath the video is the link to buy the book. So look in the description. You can click that link and it'll take you to Amazon so you can purchase the book they're showing.
Makes great stocking stuffers, people.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah, those were fun projects. Those were fun projects, and it just
the woman who does my proofreading and my editing. The idea is to give back, help other people get what you. Since I was a little kid, I dreamt about being published. Now that I've been published, I want to help other people reach that dream.
Right on.
Cool. The one that had to be tough was the first one we did. Tarnished Jewels it's a novel. We had 12 writers. Each writer did a chapter. So you had the first person laid it out, and then everybody after had to add on to it. So it was a challenge because you had to follow the chapters in front of you.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge. And the editor told us, she said, some people wrote it in third person, some people wrote it in first person, some people missed this character, and all of a sudden you change a character. That was a challenge for her, but it was fun, and the book came out pretty good. It was fun to see your words published in an actual book.
Oh, yeah. You know, it was funny when I finished my first book. When I hit the last period, I just stood up, and to myself, I'm like, yay, I'm an author. Well, that was my second book. First one I'm a writer. Second was I'm an author.
Yeah.
But me, Jason, and George, who passed away last year around this time, we were all college roommates, and 10 years later, we got back in touch due to America Online, and we wrote an entire script the same way.
Yeah.
So I would do 10 pages. I'd send it to Jason. Jason would do 10 pages, and he'd send it to George, and I'd put it in format. And I found the script about 3 or 4 months ago, and it's really funny.
I'd love to read it again. I don't have any recollection of it at this point.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. Yeah. So it's that those kind of things can work, but there has to be specific rules. And of course, like you said, with the first person, third person, that was, because you think someone's just going to follow what's going on, as far as, the framework part of it, and then, fill in all the gaps. But there are books that have been, that are legendary that do switch from third to first person. So it's not unheard of.
Well, Paul, you always told us everybody's got a book in them.
Deliberate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, at least one.
Oh, everyone's got a book in them. Just sit down and write. That's his motto. Always be writing.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to write. Otherwise,
Always be writing.
Right. Look at my schedule. What does the day start? Right. And to me, it's better when I first wake up, my writing. Oh. And then if I have a problem while writing, I'll take a nap. Like I'll write till I hit a wall, and then I'll take a nap, and I wake up, and whatever problem I couldn't get past, I know exactly what to do when I wake up.
Wow.
Yeah, it works for me anyway.
Yeah.
Do you have any Do you have any writing things there, Paul, that surprised you, that help you get through certain obstacles or get past certain things?
Well, for me, the big thing is that I don't write in one genre. So like if I sit down and I'm like all day I want to write about this short book I'm working on, and I get home and I'm at the wall, I'll just switch to a different project or a different
Yeah.
genre. I'll write an essay, or because if if you have any what they call writer's block, which I think is just an excuse to watch Netflix. If you're having this writer's block, you just start writing words, and a story will emerge. It always does.
Yeah.
So that's my thing is I spend a lot of time thinking about writing. I spend a lot of time thinking about my projects, about my process and my identity and my voice and all that stuff. So
yeah, like I've even had
like an athlete is always running or doing push-ups or all my.
Yeah, I've had women I'm dating. I'll be doing something. They're talking to me, and they'll go, "Will you stop writing?" And I'm just looking out the window, but they know that I'm writing. You know what I mean? Like you're always, I'm always writing. I do a lot of research. I'm a research freak, so I'll read 100 different things about something that has to do with a paragraph of the story. But that's my that's the way I do it, but everyone's different. But yeah, we're trying to get Jason to write his.
You got to have a process. Without a process,
for sure, for sure. Like the first one, I said I'll just write the whole book, then I'll go back and edit it and do all my. Oh my, what a nightmare! Never again for me. I'm dyslexic, so now I go through. Each chapter has to be almost bulletproof before I move on to the second chapter. And when I get done with the first act, I bulletproof it again and then move on to act 2 and then do act 1 and 2, bulletproof it and do it again for the third. Because I'm dyslexic, I have to keep on going over and over and over. And I have to have it, I have to feel it too. I can't read it on the screen. For me, I have to see it on paper. I don't know about you guys.
Absolutely. I do all my writing is done longhand with a gel pen on paper.
Oh, right on.
Okay.
I don't compose with the key. I'm trying to teach myself that, but mostly everything is done with a gel pen on paper, so that when you go to type it, you're already on your second draft.
Right.
That takes the load off.
Yeah, this is October's notebooks just for notes and bullshit. I go through 2 or 3 notebooks a month, just notes and research and everything and bits and
Yeah, one of the keys that Paul told us when we were writing and helped me a lot was read it out loud. Don't just read it. Read it out loud. It helped a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure, because you're not going to know.
Yeah, you have to.
It's read out loud. It just comes across different,
Yeah.
And you can always just, click the thing on Microsoft Word and it'll read it aloud for you. And I do that a lot just to see if something makes sense. Because it's weird, Paul, like you're absolutely correct. You can see something and it looks perfect. And then you listen to it and you're like, oh, that sounds like complete garbage. It just doesn't make sense until you're actually expressing it.
Yeah.
And that's why, like certain things, you go, "Oh, this guy didn't read this book out loud."
Right.
Just look at his dialogue. Like no one would ever say that. You know what I mean? But I like writing is a lot like like painting. Like I don't write in one specific genre either, Paul. And so it's nice to go from a landscape to a portrait to something that's got multifaceted stories. There's background, foreground. I love writing, so I wish more people would do it. And yeah, you're right, man. everyone's got at least one book in them. They just got to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just
It
like
doesn't take much.
so many people are not lazy, but scared of doing something that they would love to do, because then they would realize how bad their life sucks.
Yeah. How much time they wasted, right?
Yeah, I mean, I mean,
Yeah.
that may be a little bit harsh, but I think that's the
It's
truth.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Turn the TV off and write for half an hour, 45 minutes. Be surprised.
Yeah,
Or
Be
you know, I mean,
surprised.
like you're always your own worst enemy too. Sometimes you just, you know, you might write something and then you go like, this is probably not good enough, you know. And that doubt will hold you back, you know. I
so
mean,
okay, so this is what I learned from being in film production, working with scripts and actors and special effects and all this stuff and blah blah blah. I don't when someone like I'm always surprised at the amount of writers who don't believe in what they're writing. It
mm,
it it's stunning to me, because I always believe in 100% everything I write, and if someone has an idea or a criticism that will make it better,
yeah,
like,
all the better.
that's what you're striving for. That's what you're hoping from your beta readers or your editor or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm never afraid to cut or add to make a story
Mhm.
better. And a lot of people just get weird about it.
Right.
But it's not really your story. You're just a conduit,
Mhm.
you know.
We are we're going to shoot we have this film we've been trying to shoot for a couple of years. Once the strike is over, we're going to shoot it. And so I wrote the script. It's a short film. I gave it to the actors, and they fell in love with it. So we sat down with an executive producer, a guy with a lot of money, and he says, we need to talk about some rewrites. And one of the actors said, no, we don't. I said, let him talk. And the two actors both said, and these are not people who are pushovers. One of the actors is my publisher, so he's not afraid to bust my chops. He says, this script does not need a thing changed. We're not changing it. And I went, okay.
Okay.
The guy said, well, if we're going to play with my money, we're going to change it. I said, we don't need your money that bad. If the actors love the script and the
Right.
actors don't want to change it, and again, these are people who are working film and TV commercial actors. They don't need this little film for their career. They just love the script. So
Yeah.
we kept kept it together, and we found another executive producer. But I've had people tell me that script is, you know, I got 8 single space typed pages of notes on my new Lucha Libre book.
Right.
I know there are times when the editor, the publisher, they're not so involved in it that it's sacred to them that this needs to go, and 95% of it he was correct.
Yeah.
So I get a nice weekend of edits and tweaks and rewrites, but the book is better for it. It's not
Well,
him
you know, it's interesting
pulling out
too.
his
A
ego
lot
to
of,
tell.
you know, like people who go, oh, why does a film take 5 to 10 years to get made? Well, situations like that where you have to go find new financing again. Like, for instance, I was producing this movie and we had Annette Bening cast, and the financiers were from Germany. And at the time, they're like, oh, well, then Annette Bening's a zero in Europe. So if you cast her, we're going to pull our funding. Or if you want our money, here's a list of 20 men. Here's a list of 20 women that we want to do business with. And I was really pushing for it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is going to be, you know, you have to let her do it. You have to let her do it. And the next year she was in the 2, number 1 and number 1 again. Well, so number 1 and number 2 money-making movies of all time within 1 year.
Right.
You know, I'm like, you guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they didn't want to do business with her. And that's how it is. So by the time, you know, it had changed. Like, I pulled out of the movie because it was supposed to be about foster care and the building of a family. By the time I left, like, I was one of the only men on this project because I'm, you know, women, I work well with women. And by the time we left, I had to leave because they turned her into a whore. I'm like, I can't do that. My, you know, my nieces and they're gonna watch. They might watch this movie.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it was supposed to be about empowerment and everything. Oh, let's make her a whore and take the easy way out so we can get the money to get it made. I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's really bizarre how things happen,
Yeah.
because the people telling you how to write your story don't write.
Yep.
They've probably never written anything. Yeah.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
Sad
all right,
but
so
true.
yeah. So Paul, what do you have going on for the new year, sir?
Well, in about 2 weeks, me and Marilyn, that's my better half, we're going to do about an 8-day cruise down the River Rhine.
Oh,
Go to
nice.
Switzerland, France, Germany, Netherlands. Spend a couple days in Amsterdam, just to get away from the world.
Sure.
December, we're going to do a gangster tour / writing weekend in Minneapolis. And then the new year is going to be a new lucha book, a new lucha coloring book, and a memoir anthology with Fred and a bunch of those people. That's
Nice.
January, early February. And hopefully start releasing some of the songs. We're not going to release it as an album initially. We're going to release it just individual songs
Right.
on a platform where people can get them for free just to have them. So it's just creating and cooking. I do a lot of cooking.
Nice.
I do a lot of cooking and just relaxing. I can't wait. We're taking it's the Viking cruise. So it's like an old people cruise, but we're just gonna go down the river, eat well, drink some good wine, and enjoy the best that Germany has to offer.
That's right.
That's sweet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on our Thanksgiving addiction. Our Thanksgiving addiction. The only reason why I make that fucking turkey is for my grandma's stuffing.
Oh yeah.
That's the only reason.
Your addiction to stuffing.
Yeah. By the time I'm done,
Marilyn can make
chicken all day. Go ahead, Paul.
When my Marilyn makes a turkey, the rest of the world can stop. I don't care. Turkey, stuffing, these potatoes with stuff in them that I don't even know what it means.
Right.
Home run.
Yeah.
My Marilyn in the kitchen is a wizard. She truly is.
Nice.
I'll vouch for that. We've had a few writers
guys,
groups
like
at her house. Keep writing.
Yeah, you've eaten her food before.
Yes, sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right, well, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Paul. Take care.
Buy the book, buy the anthology.
And below, underneath the window here, there'll be links where you can get all of them.
Remember, always be writing.
Always be writing.
Absolutely. All right. Happy Thanksgiving weekend, everybody. Have a good one. Fred, man.
Take care, Paul. Vince, Jay.
All right.
Thank you, Paul.
Have a good one. And we'll see you next time on CreatiVity Talkin'. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay.